You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. I should have known it wasn't going to end well. The whole night had a strange vibe to it, but I couldn't place why. I was in bed with Jake, my boss, my affair, my mess. Everything was too loud in my head, yet so quiet in the room. The only sound was the occasional rustle of sheets and the soft hum of the city outside. For a moment, I almost convinced myself that maybe everything would be okay. But then the phone buzzed. I picked it up, seeing Liam's name flash on the screen. A rush of dread hit my stomach like an anchor sinking fast, but I answered anyway. My heart pounded in my chest. He never called unless it was important. "Where the hell are you?" Liam's voice cracked through the speaker, rough and laced with anger. I'm with Jake," I stammered, glancing at him. He wasn't even looking at me, his face buried in his phone as he scrolled through something, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the other end of the line. "Get the hell out of there. I mean it. Don't make me come down there." I froze. Liam had a history: military sniper, precision, cold anger. When he said he'd come down here, I knew he meant it. He didn't make threats lightly. But still, I brushed it off, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Liam, it's fine. Calm down." My voice was shaky, but I forced it to sound calm. I didn't want Jake to notice the shift in my energy, didn't want him to see how quickly my world could spin out of control. "Don't tell me to calm down," Liam shouted, and I flinched. "You're with him, aren't you? I know exactly where you are." "I'm outside right now. You better leave or I'll make you." My stomach dropped. Outside. He was outside. I glanced at Jake, who still hadn't looked up from his phone. I could feel the pulse of panic surging inside me. "Jake, we need to go. Now." Jake didn't respond at first. He just stared at the screen. "Jake." I pressed again, urgency creeping into my voice. Finally, he looked at me, his brows furrowing in confusion. "What's wrong?" "I need to leave. He's here. He's outside." I couldn't keep the panic out of my voice anymore. It was too real now. Jake's face shifted, uncertainty flashing in his eyes. "What? You didn't tell him about us, did you?" I couldn't answer. The truth, my lies, my betrayal, was all hanging in the air between us like thick smoke, suffocating and unspoken. Another bang sounded from outside. It was so loud, the walls shook. I couldn't pretend anymore. "Oh God," Jake muttered. "He's here. What the hell do we do?" I didn't know. I didn't have an answer. A sharp knock on the door. Then another. "I told you to leave," Liam's voice called from the other side, sharp and commanding. I could hear the malice in his tone, and it sent a chill down my spine. Jake scrambled to his feet. His expression shifted to one of fear now, his bravado from earlier completely gone. "What do we do?" he whispered, his eyes wide. I don't know," I stammered. My hands were shaking, and I could feel the walls closing in on me. Then, without warning, the door rattled violently as Liam slammed against it. His voice roared from the other side, louder now. "I said leave! Don't make me break it down." I felt the ground beneath me shift as I realized just how serious Liam was. He wasn't bluffing. He wasn't playing games. "Jake, go. Just go, please." I pushed him toward the door, my words almost pleading now. Jake hesitated for a moment, his fear mirroring mine, but he finally nodded, running a hand through his hair. He darted toward the door, but just as his hand touched the knob, the door slammed open. Liam stood there, his frame blocking the doorway. The rage in his eyes was enough to freeze the air between us. He glanced briefly at Jake, then locked eyes with me. "You're coming with me, now." I could barely breathe. My chest tightened with guilt and terror. My pulse throbbed in my ears, but I knew I didn't have a choice. I turned to Jake, guilt hitting me in waves. "I'm sorry, I have to go with him." Jake stood frozen for a second, his face pale. "What's going on? What the hell is happening?" But Liam didn't give me the time to answer. His hand shot out, grabbing my arm tightly. "Now," he repeated, dragging me toward the door. His grip was unyielding, and his voice was a low growl. "You don't get to choose anymore." As Liam pulled me away from Jake, I glanced over my shoulder. Jake stood in the middle of the room, a mix of confusion, fear, and heartbreak written on his face. It felt like everything I had done, everything I had ruined, was crashing down around me, and I knew that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. The front door slammed shut behind me as Liam dragged me into the apartment, his grip tight around my arm. I could feel the weight of the night sinking in. Jake was gone, forced to leave under the threat of Liam's violent rage. And now, it was just me and Liam. Liam's breath was ragged, his eyes wild, fury and disbelief mixing like a dangerous cocktail. "How long?" he demanded, pacing the small living room. "How long has this been going on?" I stood frozen, my heart in my throat. My chest felt like it was being crushed under the weight of his words, but I knew I couldn't lie anymore. There was no point in pretending. I couldn't keep running from the truth. "I don't know," I whispered, the words tasting like ash on my tongue. "A few months. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I didn't mean for it to get this far." Liam's eyes locked onto mine, and I could see the pain there, the raw, gut-wrenching kind of pain that no words could ever explain. "You didn't mean for it to get this far?" He spat, his voice cold. "You didn't mean to destroy everything we had?" He stopped pacing, standing in front of me now. His breath was shallow, his fists clenched. I could see the muscles in his jaw twitching, his whole body trembling with rage. "You've ruined me. You've ruined everything." His voice was low, dangerous. "I've spent years making this life work. I trusted you, and you—" His breath caught, his anger boiling over. "You let that happen. You let him touch you. You betrayed me, and for what?" I couldn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I was drowning in guilt, in the overwhelming weight of what I'd done. I knew how much I'd hurt him, how much I'd destroyed. But there were no apologies that could fix this. Liam began to pace again, but his words kept coming, cutting deeper with each one. "Do you realize what you've done? I didn't just lose my wife. I lost my family, my trust in people, everything I worked for. You've shattered all of it." The tears began to fall then, slow and heavy. I didn't try to stop them. It was too late for that. Liam finally stopped and looked at me, his gaze filled with nothing but contempt. He took a deep breath, wiping his face with one hand as if trying to suppress the storm inside him. "You're nothing now. Nothing but a betrayal. A stain on everything we built together." I shook my head, unable to find any words to fight back. What was there left to say? Liam's final words hit me like a slap across the face. "You have nothing left. This marriage is over." His voice was final, unyielding, like the closing of a door that could never be opened again. "I don't want to see you again." And just like that, he turned and walked out, leaving me standing in the wreckage of my own choices, alone and broken. The silence after Liam's departure was suffocating. My heart pounded in my chest, but the stillness of the room seemed to press in, as though every corner held the weight of my choices. The anger, the pain, the betrayal, everything that had just exploded in that confrontation now hung in the air, lingering like smoke from a fire that had already burned out. I sank into the couch, my hands trembling as I held my phone. I didn't want to reach out, but I couldn't stop myself. I opened a new message and typed a few words to Jake, the one person I felt guilty about in all of this, the one person I knew didn't deserve any of it. "Are you okay?" A few seconds passed. The screen stayed blank, and I stared at it, willing him to respond. I heard the soft buzzing sound and snatched my phone up, half anticipating the worst. His message was brief, his words terse. "I'm fine." But what the hell just happened? I swallowed hard, reading it over and over. I knew what he meant. The mess that had spiraled out of control in the span of one night. My marriage, my affair, the life I'd built crumbling before me. I didn't know how to explain any of it. "I'm sorry." It felt inadequate, but it was all I could muster. I wanted to write more, to explain everything, but I knew there was no excuse, no justification that could undo the damage. The phone buzzed again, and this time, I saw his next message. "What's going to happen now?" I couldn't answer. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I had no idea where Liam had gone or what he was capable of now. But I couldn't drag Jake any deeper into this. The guilt was suffocating enough. I couldn't do that to him. I tossed my phone on the coffee table and buried my face in my hands, trying to process everything. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the mess I had created. A soft knock at the door broke through the chaos in my mind. I stood up slowly, wiping the tears from my eyes, and opened it to find Amanda standing there. Her face was soft, full of concern. Without a word, she stepped inside and wrapped her arms around me. "You don't have to say anything," she whispered. But you need to talk. Come on. I followed her into the kitchen, my body still heavy with the weight of everything that had just unfolded. I felt like I was unraveling, but Amanda was here, steady as always. She always knew what to do. She was the only one who could ground me in moments like this. "Jake's okay," I muttered, my voice cracking as I tried to keep it together. "But Liam's... I don't know what he'll do next. I just don't know." Amanda didn't say anything at first. She just nodded, her hand gently resting on mine. "What's Liam going to do?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," I repeated, feeling helpless for the first time. "But I can't let him hurt Jake. I can't make it worse." Amanda leaned in, her voice serious now. "You need to warn Jake. He can't keep being in the dark about Liam. He's going to get hurt if you don't." I nodded, but I hesitated. Part of me didn't want to drag Jake back into the chaos. But Amanda was right. I couldn't let him get hurt again. I grabbed my phone, but before I could text Jake, it buzzed again. His name flashed on the screen. A simple, yet terrifying message. "Liam's dangerous. He'll be coming for both of us." I set the phone down, a cold chill running through me. I didn't know how to fix this, but I knew I had to act. The question was, what was I willing to do to stop it from spiraling any further? The knock on the door was unexpected, and I almost didn't want to answer it. My heart was still racing, my thoughts tangled in guilt and fear. But I couldn't ignore it, not now, not after everything that had happened. I opened the door, my pulse quickening as two officers stepped inside. Their uniforms were crisp, their faces unreadable, but there was no mistaking the gravity of their presence. "Ms. Turner?" one of the officers asked. His tone was professional, but there was a hint of something sharp beneath it. "Yes," I replied, feeling a chill crawl down my spine. "We need to speak with you regarding an incident involving your husband, Liam Turner," the officer continued. "Can we come in?" I stepped back, instinctively trying to push the door wider, but my hands were shaking. "What happened?" I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. "Your husband is involved in an altercation. We have reason to believe he's a danger to someone," the second officer said, glancing at his partner before meeting my eyes. A lump formed in my throat. Is Jake all right?" I asked, barely managing to whisper the words. The first officer gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod. "He's been taken to the hospital. We need to ask you about Liam's whereabouts. Can you tell us where he is?" The question hit me like a punch. I thought I saw an opening to protect him, to keep Liam's actions hidden, to shield him from the consequences. But the weight of the officer's gaze felt suffocating. I could feel them pressing, waiting for answers. I don't know where Liam is," I stammered, feeling my voice tremble. "He left after things got heated. I don't know where he went." The officers exchanged a look, clearly not buying my words. "You don't know where your husband is?" the second officer asked, his eyes narrowing. "You're sure about that?" I swallowed, panic tightening in my chest. "Yes," I whispered. I haven't seen him since last night." They both stared at me for a long moment before the first officer finally spoke. "We'll need you to call us if you hear from him, or if you have any information on his whereabouts." "Of course," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, but the words felt like they were being ripped from me. They left soon after, reminding me again to call if I learned anything about Liam's location. The door clicked shut behind them, and I was left standing there, trembling. My phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from Jake. I hesitated for a moment, the knot in my stomach tightening as I read it. "Liam's becoming dangerous. I'm scared for both of us." My hands shook as I reread his words. The truth was sinking in, the weight of the betrayal, the uncertainty of what Liam might do next. I had no idea where this would end, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened, I was trapped in it now. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Jake. "Please stay safe." But could I? Was I even safe in my own house anymore? The phone vibrated in my hand, its sharp buzzing cutting through the silence like a knife. My heart skipped a beat when I saw Liam's name on the screen. I hesitated, the weight of my decision pressing down on me, but I couldn't avoid it anymore. I answered, "Liam." My voice cracked, but I fought to keep it steady. "Where are you?" A calm, almost eerie voice greeted me from the other side. "I'm not coming home, if that's what you're asking." His words were deliberate, cold. "You've really crossed the line this time, haven't you?" I swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. I could hear the faint sound of something in the background, maybe the wind or the hum of an engine, and it made me realize how little control I had over anything anymore. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I said quietly, but the words felt like lies. I never wanted any of this. Liam let out a dry laugh, but there was no humor in it. It's too late for apologies. You should know that. You'll understand soon enough why I had to do what I did. I could feel a cold shiver run down my spine, my stomach twisted with fear. Please, Liam, don't what? His voice dropped, becoming low and dangerous. Don't make you feel the consequences of your actions. Don't remind you of how badly you've messed up. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. The truth was, I didn't have any more excuses, not for Liam, not for myself. Listen carefully, Liam continued. I'm not turning myself in, and I'm not letting this go. Whatever happens, you'll be reminded of this mistake for the rest of your life. I tried to interject, but he cut me off, his voice growing colder. If you try to run, or if you try to call the police, just know I'm already one step ahead. You don't get to leave, not now, not after everything you've done. The finality in his words hit me like a punch. My throat went dry. Please, Liam, please don't hurt anyone else. You're scaring me. There was a long pause before he spoke again, and when he did, his voice had softened, though the chill never left it. I'm not the one who should be scared. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. My pulse quickened as my thoughts spiraled, trapped between the man I once loved and the monster I had helped create. The call ended with a click, leaving me standing there, the weight of his words still echoing in my head. As I lowered the phone, my heart thudded painfully in my chest. Liam had already made it clear. This wasn't over. A moment later, my phone buzzed again. A message from Liam popped up. Don't try to escape. I'll be watching. And I'll make sure you understand what happens when you betray me. I felt paralyzed, the consequences of my choices closing in. Amanda's warning echoed in my head. You need to leave, for your own safety. But I wasn't sure I could run. Not now. Not after everything. I glanced out the window, the darkness of the night swallowing the world outside, and I realized that Liam's grip on my life wasn't over. I had nowhere to hide. I stood frozen by the window, watching in horror as Liam, his expression cold and detached, approached Jake's car. His hands gripped a crowbar tightly, and with a calmness that chilled me to my core, he swung it against the windshield, shattering the glass. The sound was deafening, a violent crack that echoed through the silence of the night. I gasped, unable to look away as he continued, methodically and without hesitation, smashing the windows, denting the body of the car with brutal force. The faint reflection of the streetlights flickered off the shards of glass scattered on the ground. It was like he was dismantling everything I had left, everything I had ever built with Jake. I couldn't move. My body was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by a mixture of fear and guilt. The man I had loved, no, the man I had destroyed, was out there, unraveling in front of me, and I couldn't stop it. Liam! I shouted, my voice trembling as I rushed to the door. Stop! Please! But he didn't stop. He turned to face me, his eyes empty, devoid of the warmth they once held. He didn't say anything, just swung the crowbar down one last time, driving it into the side mirror of the car. It bent inwards with a sickening crunch. He was making sure Jake got the message. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. This wasn't just about the car. This was about power, control, punishment. I'm doing this for you, you know, he called out to me, his voice disturbingly calm, making sure he understands who's in charge here. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped back, but I couldn't escape. The guilt weighed me down, rooting me in place. I had caused all of this. I had ruined everything. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, pulling me out of my stupor. I pulled it out, my hands still shaking. The text from Jake flashed on the screen. He's going to hurt someone. He's losing it. Please don't let him do anything worse. I pressed the phone to my chest, my eyes fixed on Liam as he took a step back from the wreckage. He wasn't done. He wouldn't stop. And neither would I realized with a sinking feeling. There was no way out now. My heart pounded in my chest, and my thoughts spun as I stood there, helpless. Fear, guilt, and regret twisted inside me. I had no idea what Liam would do next, but it was clear he was capable of anything. The air was thick with tension as I drove, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. Amanda had begged me to stay, to get out of town, to disappear, but I couldn't. I was already too deep in this nightmare, and there was no running from it. Liam had summoned me to meet him, and I knew there was no way out. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, but I couldn't. I couldn't leave this unresolved. So I followed the directions he'd given, ending up at a decrepit warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building was worn down, the paint peeling and the windows cracked. It felt like a place that had been abandoned for years, the silence hanging in the air like a heavy blanket. I parked outside, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. Stepping out of the car, I paused for a moment, unsure of what I would find inside. But I already knew. Whatever was going to happen, it wasn't going to be easy. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The dim light inside barely illuminated the space, revealing old machinery and forgotten debris scattered across the floor. Liam stood in the far corner, his back to me, staring out into the shadows. He hadn't heard me enter, and for a moment, I just watched him, still, cold, as if waiting for something, or perhaps someone. "Liam?" My voice was soft, trembling with the weight of fear and guilt. He turned, his expression blank, but his eyes full of something far darker. He didn't speak, just nodded toward an old, dusty radio on the shelf. Without a word, he gestured for me to sit. My heart pounded in my chest, and every step I took toward him felt like walking toward a punishment I couldn't escape. He pressed a button on the radio, and suddenly, the sound of Jake's voice filled the air. The recording was of a conversation we'd had, the one where he said he had no intention of leaving me. My blood ran cold. "I'm not leaving her. I'm in this no matter what. We'll work through it," Jake's voice echoed from the speakers. It was like hearing a confession from the past, a painful reminder of everything I'd destroyed. Liam's face was unreadable as he let the recording play, his gaze never leaving me. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his voice low and chilling. "Do you hear how easily he lies? How easy it was for you to betray me?" I swallowed, but I couldn't speak. The guilt crushed me. I had betrayed him, and now I was being forced to relive the consequences of my actions. Liam's next words felt like a knife. "I've been so patient, so damn patient. But now, I want you to understand. What you've done, you've taken everything from me." He stepped closer, his voice steady but full of venom. "You destroyed our lives, and you did it willingly." My chest tightened as I watched him, my body frozen in place. There was no escaping him now, no way to apologize for everything I had caused. "You don't get to make this right," Liam continued, his eyes dark. "You've crossed a line, and now I'm the one in control." He stared at me for a long moment, the weight of his words sinking in. "And you won't ever forget it." The truth of his words hung heavy in the air, as the darkness of the warehouse seemed to close in around me. The warehouse was eerily quiet as Liam stepped closer, the faint echo of his boots tapping on the concrete floor sending shivers down my spine. I had no words left, no excuses. I stood there, rooted to the spot, as the weight of what I had done hit me full force. Liam was in control now. His presence, his calm demeanor, everything about him exuded power. He didn't need to yell. His very stillness was enough to make the room feel suffocating. I didn't dare move as he reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a manila envelope. He held it in front of me, and my heart skipped a beat as I saw the unmistakable photos inside. The sight of them made my stomach churn. "Here's your choice," Liam said, his voice eerily soft. "These are for you, but only if you decide to keep defying me. If you want to keep playing games with your little affair, these will be your punishment. If you ever step out of line again, they'll be made public." His words were like daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. I looked down at the photos, feeling like I was suffocating. The weight of what Liam was offering, what he was threatening, was too much. He had already won. He had always been in control. I realized in that moment that my life, my choices, had never truly been mine. Liam's eyes locked with mine as he took a step back. "You'll never forget this, not for as long as you live. I'll make sure of it." And just like that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there in the midst of my own destruction. I sat on the edge of the couch, the silence in the room almost suffocating. The weight of the photos Liam had left with me seemed to press down on my chest, each one a cruel reminder of the life I had destroyed. My phone buzzed, breaking the stillness. I glanced at the screen, my stomach twisting as I saw Jake's name. "I need to talk to you." The message was simple, but it was enough to send a jolt of panic through me. What could I say? What was left to say? I had betrayed him. I had betrayed both of us. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling as I typed out a response. I don't know what to say. I never meant for this to happen. The words felt like a hollow apology, but it was all I could offer. I didn't know how to fix what I had broken. The phone buzzed again, and this time, it wasn't Jake. It was Amanda. I had almost forgotten about her, lost in the aftermath of my own destruction. She didn't wait for me to answer. You need to get out of there. Now I couldn't even muster the strength to respond. My head was a mess. Guilt, fear, and regret mixing together in a whirlwind I couldn't escape. What was there to leave for? What was there to go back to? The phone buzzed again, and this time, it was Jake. I didn't want to read it, but I couldn't stop myself. Liam's not going to stop. You need to get out before it's too late. His words were a clear warning, but it didn't change anything. I had already made my choice. I had already stepped too far into the darkness. There was no running anymore. Amanda's voice cut through my thoughts as she appeared in the doorway, her eyes filled with concern. You have to leave. Now. I looked up at her, tears welling in my eyes. I can't, I whispered. I've lost everything. She stepped closer, sitting beside me and placing a hand on my shoulder. You can still leave, but you have to make the choice. This will only get worse if you stay. The words echoed in my mind. I had already made my choice once. I had made my bed, and now I had to lie in it. But I couldn't ignore the fear gnawing at me, the deep-seated feeling that I was trapped in a nightmare with no way out. I looked at Amanda, her worried expression softening, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of hope. But it wasn't enough. I wasn't sure if it ever would be. All I knew was that my life had irrevocably changed, and there was no turning back.